Shalom, give us one moment.
All right.
Wow.
You said hold what now?
Matthew 24. Somebody can hold 1 Peter 1, starting from the top. We're going to just go into a little history. You know, John 7, of course. Not going to be a long lesson, however the Spirit wants it.
I got you.
But yeah, cool. And I'll just sit here close to the camera. That way you can hear me too. All right, hey, shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. We also would like to give double honors to our apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that do rule well through the Holy Spirit. And we want to say peace, blessings, salutations, etc. as always. And of course, to you elect that are across the four winds of this earth, fulfilling your lots in all truth and all sincerity. We're the Great Millstone Dallas branch, coming to you all with another class session. And Lord willing, this here will be edifying to those of you all that are of the flock, because that's ultimately our job, to feed the sheep. You know, so Lord willing, we'll be at service to you all as always. And I'm going to talk about here within this session, as you all see, the gospel in diaspora. All right. And the reason why we're going to touch up on this topic, because it has been a hot topic. You know, you have Vocab, Heyman Malone, which we know what it is. He goes to all these different groups and everything, you know, the different Israelite groups. And he's came to GMS here as of lately, you know, and just ultimately just badgering, just no different than what the heathen did when we was building the second temple, when they was mad that we didn't allow them to build with us. Right. You know, and the reason why you can't build with this, because it was never set up for you all to build with us. You know, and pertaining to the gospel in this building that's being built right now, which is the third temple through the Holy Spirit, it's still the same concept as it was when the first temple was built, when the second temple was built. It's no different with the third. Well, there's a little bit of a difference, and the only difference is it's spiritual. Right. All right, it's not a physical building that we're going to have to go to no more. Matter of fact, really quick, we can hold that in Hosea. I believe that's in Hosea 3.
It says after 2 days?
No, not that one. Not that. That's a good one too. We can also pull that one up afterwards. But going into how we was going to remain a time without our culture.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because the thing about it is, while the brothers are looking it up, if you have to understand history of the Bible to thoroughly understand why the gospel is taught, why it's the good news, and who it's pertaining to. All right, you have to understand these things before you just jump straight to the New Testament, talking about God loves and is going to save any old body, when it don't work like that, and it's never been like that. Because one thing you realize, the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament are the same exact God. All right, and as much as so-called Christians can say the law this, the law that, we're not under the law no more, which they're technically right. We're not under the law no more.
We're not under the first covenant standard.
The first covenant standard.
I'm adding to you.
Right, absolutely. Right, we're not under the law. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because if we were under the law, we'd be judged according to the things that we can't keep. Right. All right, you can't be under the law and under grace at the same time. Right. And, you know, just as the Apostle Paul made mention. Now, that doesn't negate the fact that we still do our best to keep the law to the best of our ability. But we know that righteousness is not received through the law. It's received through faith in Yahweh Shai. And with that, you're going to practice things to get closer to the Lord. You're going to practice the laws, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability, of course, and always. But we know that we're not under that standard no more, and we can't be. God, if we were under that standard, we would be through. So going back into this whole history of things, the reason why the Lord casted us away and said we're a no people is because we rebelled, we worshiped other gods, and we refused to keep the law. So he put us in a position where we were scattered among the heathen, not being under the law, but still focusing on Yahweh Shai. That way, when Yahweh Shai delivers us, lower of that number, all right, and brings judgment, it's going to be back according to the law. That's why when Babylon gets judged, and a lot of these people get judged in that time, it's because that is going to be the transferring from grace back unto the second covenant. All right. Obviously, it starts with us getting our bodies changed. All right. But Yahweh Shai is going to exact judgment according to the law when he comes back to visit. All right. A law that was given unto the Israelites. Okay. Go ahead, Toss.
All right, this is just to back you up. But this is the book of St. James, chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse 17. It says, even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. You see, and the thing is about faith, you have Christians that will say, I got faith in Jesus, but that's not his name. But they'll come with the whole I believe, I got faith, but they don't have but what really shows forth your faith is your deeds, your conduct, right? It says, yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show you thy faith. And I will show thee my faith by my works. You see, and it makes me think about Noah. That was the first thought that came to my mind. I'm just reading that was Noah. Noah believed on what the Lord said he was going to do when he was going to flood the earth. Right. And what happened? By his faith, it was backed by action. Whereas he built an ark for the saving of his household. Right? It says, thou believest that there is one power, one God. Thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, here's the point. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? You see? And that's the key. Faith without works is dead, man. You can't sit here and say that you believe upon the God of the Bible, but have no kind of actions back behind your belief. Because what backs your belief is obedience. But you will be obedient to your belief. If you believe that you can be the greatest basketball player, the greatest boxer, the greatest football player, right? If you believe that, your actions based upon you achieving that goal is going to be backed by works. Right. You see? And that's what what the priest is going into. That's the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua upon us in these last days where we've been scattered in these various different lands, backed by the faith that's been put inside of us through Yahushua for us to work, okay, according to the promise that was given unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You see? It's not based on how perfectly we can keep the laws. No, it's Yahweh Shai working in us. Right. That's the key.
Yeah, he's our righteousness.
Yeah.
As the scriptures talk about. You got something, Mafia?
Come. This is Malachi 3 and verse 6. It says, for I am Yahweh, I change not. Therefore you sons of Jacob are not consumed. And the Lord said, as we mentioned, we're talking about the God of old, the living power of old. All right, he said he changed not. So the Lord, what he was back then in the ancient time, is the same power is today. What is he? The Ancient of Days. He is throughout the history and throughout the present and throughout the future. All right, and he said what? He said that Jacob, the sons of Jacob, are not consumed. Even if we are scattered, we're not going to be consumed among these other nations. We still have the heritage, that lineage throughout Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Right. That's right. Khan. Beautiful, solid points. Because in order to thoroughly understand the gospel and the concept of the gospel, you have to know that the Lord don't change. And when you look at Christianity through the lens of Christianity, if that makes sense, if you look at Christianity through the lens of Christianity, that's what's pushed, a changing God. You know what I'm saying? God can allow this. God can allow you to celebrate Saturnalia. God can allow you to eat pork. But then the God of the Old Testament is different. And when you even have dealings with the so-called Christian, all right, or you might be at work just hearing people talk about God and be like, yeah, the God of the Old Testament. Some of y'all might have heard that mentioned. I know I've heard people make mention of that. But it's like it's the same God. So you have to read the Bible with an understanding that it is the same God, the same judgment, the same righteousness, the same things that he wants. Difference is we're not in the homeland. All right? We're not in the Holy Land. We're in foreign territory. So we have to operate as such. Okay? Now you at a point, and then afterward we can bring this out in Matthew 24 to get into the lesson.
Yeah, well, just to back up your point, people don't even know, like, the Bible. I want to say that the Old Testament, and it could be corrected if I'm wrong, actually, if you don't mind checking it up. I want to say that in the Old Testament, or I'm sorry, in the New Testament, the Old Testament was quoted 865 times. When you read the New Testament, you find 865 times that the Old Testament was quoted. So, you know, when you ask a Christian, what is the New Testament? They can't even really even answer that question. Most Christians don't even know what the word testament even means.
Right.
See, they'll say, well, that's the Old Testament. Well, this is the New Testament. Well, what does the word testament mean? And then secondly, when you think about the New Testament, or the New Covenant, if you will, right? First and foremost, who was it written for, right? Who was it written for? And secondly, what were they quoting to even confirm what they were saying in the New Testament? What were they? Where were they coming? Where were they going?
Right.
Like, you know, what was they reading from? What aspect? What was they pulling to make the points of what you read in Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Revelation? You know, so on and so forth. They was going back to the scrolls, man.
Mm-hmm.
But most Christians don't even, you know what I'm saying? It's a very simple concept when you think about it.
That's right. That's right. And one of the reasons that we had left that, obviously, was through the Holy Spirit. But one thing that a so-called Christian can say is, oh, I'm put it like this. No, what we can say is that we've been in Christianity before, and we've been a Hebrew Israelite, and we clearly see the difference between the two.
Sure.
We've been a so-called Christian before. We see the folly. We were part of that at first.
Right.
A so-called Christian can't say that they're not going to know because they've never walked our walk. They're not trained to go into the scriptures and look the way that the Heavenly Father wants his servants to look. You know, we were Christians. We weren't ever studying this hard. Yeah, you got certain ones like Vocab, John Calvin, you know, and you know what I'm saying, James White, other different people. But when you look at the whole expansion of Christianity, not expansion, but you know what I mean, in a macrocosm of things, they don't know nothing.
They don't know nothing.
They don't know anything. They'll just say Jesus wept, the gospel, this is not my God, you know, and call it that.
God loves me.
God loves me. But we're going to go into the God of the Bible and how he's for the nation of Israel, Old Testament and the New Testament. And we're going to talk about that and touch upon a few points because, again, you know, that conversation has been brought up quite a bit. Brothers have done lessons and shows touching up on 1 Peter, the first chapter. All right, and when you read that is directing, I'd rather say the Apostle Peter is directing that epistle into Israelites that were scattered of the elect. All right, because again, it ain't for everybody. It ain't for every old Israelite. And that's another thing too. To say just for every old Israelite, just because you a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American does not mean that this is for you. All right, because a lot of y'all are enemies of the Lord for the gospel's sake. All right, so this is namely directed to the elect that were scattered to these different areas. The elect of Israel, by the way. All right, because a so-called Christian will say, well, we know that's God's elect that's scattered. Right, but who are these elect that are scattered? They're Israelites.
Right.
Okay.
Can I get a quick one for you? It's going to lead into.
Lead
into your Matthew. You can actually break it down. It's going to lead into what you got. This is Jeremiah 31. I'm starting at verse 10. It says, "Hear the word of Yahweh, O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, He that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him, as a shepherd doth his flock. For Yahweh hath redeemed Jacob." Right,
to you isles, right? Now also too, you can read it in Isaiah the 11th chapter where it talks about the diaspora and where will we disperse to. All right, it makes mention of Elam, you know, Shinar, these different areas, and then it also says the islands, the isles of the sea, which Babylon, this whole North America is a big ass island when you look at it from a Eastern mindset. Somebody that doesn't know about America like that, because of course they knew about Babylon, some of them did because they had the ship over here, you know, but it was still somewhat foreign to them versus the homeland. Right. So this is a big ass isle of the sea.
Yep, it's surrounded by water.
It's surrounded by water. Yeah. Exactly. Go ahead, I.
Yep, it says, "For Yahweh hath redeemed Jacob, and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he."
There you go, ransomed him. And who was that ransom? How was we ransomed? Through Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai acted as our atonement and our ransom to bring us back into Yahweh and a culture that comes with being under Yahweh. We was able to get all that back through Yahweh Shai. You don't get the biblical culture through Christianity. You don't get the culture of the Bible through Christianity. There's no culture. All right, the culture that we got when we was in Christianity was collard greens, pork chops, jacked up ass diet, and that's about it.
Do as thou wilt.
Do as thou wilt. That's the culture that pushes that Christianity pushes. All right, but when you read the Bible and understand these prophecies, you know that this gospel being preached is us returning back to our culture. which is this verse that this brother's going into.
That was
That was it on that? Con, the water for that, bro. Cool, so we can pull up Matthew 24 and go into it. We're going to bring out precepts. We're going to bring out a few articles. I got a few books right here we're going to go into. But yeah, Lord willing, it's edifying.
This is Matthew 24, verse 14. I started verse 13. It says, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved.
Yeah, he that endureth unto the end. Because that's another thing too. When you look at the concept of Christianity, they'll boast in the fact that they're saved. Not the fact, in their eyes, in their mind, their distorted, delusional world, they'll boast in the fact that they've been saved. Right. All right? But in order to be saved, you got to endure into the end. Because they're alluding to Romans, the 10th chapter, the 9th verse, when it goes into if you believe in Yahweh Shai, then you are saved. But that's a lifestyle you got to live to say you believe. Yeah. You can't just outwardly just say, I believe, and just do anything you want. Like the brother said, do as thou wilt. It don't work like that. There's a lifestyle that you have to live. There's a culture that you have to adhere to. And if you endure that, and if you constantly walk within that, yes, you're going to be saved, you know? But we don't know if we're at that number yet, so we got to continue to press. Yep. All right, but case in point, going into it, he that endureth into the end, same shall be saved. So you got to endure suffering. All right, which you brought up the word. A lot of Christians don't know what the word testimony means. You know, it goes into being a martyr.
Yeah, testament.
Testament, right. It goes into being a martyr. So you're going to have to suffer in order for what you believe in. And we're all going to be tested here very soon. All these so-called Christians, you know, the vocabs, a lot of these people, as the scriptures say in Revelation 13, the whole world is going to be tried in that day. Right. All right, because they're going to see if you're going to take that MOTB. And Revelation 3 talks about that. And you're going to see that a lot of these people that claim Christianity, that claim Islam, all these different creeds and religions are going to fail in that day. Yeah. Because it's not set up by the Lord. Okay? Go ahead, Mafia.
Yeah. It's like Mr. I don't know. Very proud.
Very proud.
Strong,
I'm not going to be here.
That's what he went into. He said he don't have to worry about that, going through that those times, those hard times. He's not going to be here. He said the Lord's going to, the rapture is going to happen before the hard times, Jacob's trouble even hit.
But you ask him what the word rapture means, they don't even know.
No, because it's not in the scripture.
Nowhere in the Bible. It's nowhere in the Bible. And it's like it's not even in the Bible, but here it is. Most Christians don't even know what the word rapture even means. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot.
No, but that's it. You know, Christians don't understand what's basically about to come down the pipe. But, you know, I know we're, you know, kind of moving off because we're going into, like, say, the Christians that basically came back. You know, because the Gentiles were within, the Gentile foreigners were, you know, a part of Israel because they were Israelites. But like I said, the Christians said everyone's going to be saved and they don't have to worry about the bad time, the evil time. This says in Ephesians 5. Mm-hmm. They saying that, you know, don't worry, the Lord is going to deliver. Right. The Lord said, hey, you're surely going to drink of this cup.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Man, yes. Hey, the scriptures talk about how it says, through much tribulation shall you enter into the kingdom. And that's what Christians don't, you know, that's what Christianity doesn't teach you. You see, but the God of the Bible, what the preacher are going into, we're being brought back to our heritage. Let us know, it's like just like the time of the wilderness. That was a time of affliction, but that affliction was made to prove us and to test us. You see, and there's going to be a great testing, like the brother mentioned, the MOTB, where it says in Revelation 3 and 10 that the whole world is going to be tried. But it says, "But I will keep you." You see, and who's going to keep? He's going to keep the elect in that time. The elect of the nation of Israel is going to be kept. You see, because nobody's saved yet. Well, I've been saved for 60. What the fuck you been saved from, man?
Yo, you saved, but 4 years ago, your saved ass ran over there to get your arm stabbed with a serum to keep your job.
Right.
That don't sound like the confidence of somebody that's saved, bruh.
Right.
And a lot of them did that.
Yeah, you saved, but you still paying taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You saved, but you still paying rent, and you over here still trying to figure out your bills, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. But you saved though.
Yeah, your saved child support paying ass.
Right, that makes no sense, man.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mafia.
Matthew 24 and 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached.
This gospel, I'm sorry, brother. This gospel, bro. This particular gospel, this good news of the kingdom. All right, because that's what the good news is, the fact that Israel has a kingdom coming. Right. When you read it in the book of Acts, the 1st chapter, when Yahweh Shai was talking to his brothers one last time before he went up to receive his glory next to his father, they asked him a question and they said, is it this time for you to restore the kingdom yet again to Israel?
To Israel, yep.
And Yahushua never corrected him on that. He didn't have to. He just told them, look, it ain't the time.
He didn't say, he wasn't, I'm sorry, it's a beautiful point. He wasn't like Israel.
Hold on, player. This for everybody. Israel. No. What y'all have to understand is it's for no.
Yeah, y'all going on.
He just said, y'all just got to just endure, and y'all going to have to teach into the uttermost parts of the earth, and then what you ask for is going to come to pass.
Right.
You know, he never corrected him on that.
Nope. Vocab.
And that's an Acts. The Acts of the Apostles, which heavily pushes the narrative of Gentiles coming into the fold. You know?
Right.
Go ahead.
Like Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations.
Now, all the world for a witness unto all nations. All right? Because these nations going to have to hear of their judgment too.
Right, yeah.
All right? And we being Israelites, are scattered among all nations.
Yeah.
But everybody has to hear it. Everybody has to know what's going on. That's why the Lord has us on the highways and the byways, the highways and the hedges, preaching the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Like Yahushua told those men in Acts the 2nd chapter. I'm sorry, I said Acts the 2nd chapter. Excuse me. Sorry. Acts, I keep saying Acts. Hey, that's spirit. Maybe some Acts will have to get pulled up in a minute.
Absolutely.
You know, but Matthew the 10th chapter. All right, because when he commissioned those men, he told them, look, you're going to have to preach in these areas, but do not teach to the Samaritans.
Right.
And any of their cities enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. All right, and that same concept was to the Apostle Paul too.
Yeah.
All right, because the so-called Christian will use that and say, well, that shows you that they were sent to the circumcision. Well, then why did he say the lost sheep then?
Right.
Why did he say the lost sheep? And eventually, even the apostles had to go in foreign territories, and they died and suffered persecution in those foreign territories where they had to give their bodies as a sacrifice for the testimony,
Right.
you know, in foreign territory. So even though the apostle Peter and the apostles were sent to the circumcision and the apostle Paul was sent to the uncircumcision, eventually they was all sent to the uncircumcision.
That's right.
Eventually so, the diaspora, which we're going to talk about within this lesson.
I got a precept for you.
Kana.
Jeremiah chapter 1, I'm going to read verse 5, just to back up your point, and then I'm going to jump down to verse 9 and 10. It says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. You see? Because when it says that the nations, first and foremost, you know, we will be scattered amongst all the different nations, and secondly, the different nations need to know their judgment as well too. Mm-hmm. Whether you're an Edomite, whether Ishmaelite, Elamite, so on and so forth, right? Verse 9, it says, jumping down to verse 9, it says, then Yahweh put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And Yahweh said unto me, behold, I have put my words in thy mouth. See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. See, what's being stripped down, what's being pulled down and being rooted out and pulled down, destroyed and thrown down is this system. You see, and what comes with this system is what's that 2 Corinthians 10 or 1 Corinthians 10 that says that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal but mighty through the Most High to pulling down the strongholds. Yep. You see, one of the major strongholds that's being pulled down is Christianity. Right. You see, that whole concept that God loves everybody and Jesus Christ and God came to save everybody, which is not true. Right. And it says what? It says to build and to plant. And what's being built? That the house of David is being built. What's being planted is the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai amongst the elect of the nation of Israel. Right. So that what? The kingdom of Yahushai can be established on the planet Earth. Yep. See, this gospel will be preached throughout the whole four corners of the earth, and then the end will come. As we're reading in Matthew 24.
It's like when Yahushai, when we talked to the woman in the well in John 4, around the 21st verse, you know, she was a Samaritan woman. But like I say, we were already mingled amongst the other heathens because the king, what did he do when he took the northern kingdom and he took them up to Babylon? He brought down those other nations. Those Cushites. And to go ahead and they dwelled in the land too. Mm-hmm. But what did Yahushua tell the woman? Because she was not a woman of Israel. He said, ye know not what you worship. Because she said, ye father Abraham. But it wasn't just Abraham. Abraham was another. It was bloodline went through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then the 12 tribes, the 12 sons. He said, you know not what you worship, but we know what we worship. For salvation is of the Jews. Right. Which it was, he said Jews, but it was the southern kingdom in the land at that time.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
but
you had Northern Kingdom here and there scattered,
here and there,
but like you said, predominantly the South.
Yeah, predominantly the South, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. But they, you know, the rulers at the time, Edomite, they didn't want to go around and say, you know, try to distinguish everyone. So they said, what? Okay, we're gonna say all y'all Jews.
That's right.
You know. So he told her from that point, this is not for you. All right. You don't know what you worship, but we know. But he said he's gonna break down those strongholds. But you have these other heathen nations. You know, they've been receiving their consolation prize with Esau as well.
Right. And in that account, she still received a blessing.
Yep.
She still received a blessing. Just as the heathen are still going to receive a blessing. When Israel's in rulership under Yahweh Shai, even the heathen are going to receive blessings. You know, obviously other than Esau, after they served their captivity. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't negate the fact that salvation is of the Jews, of the Israelites.
Right.
Okay?
Which that was it, but you know, just add on to your point, you know what I'm saying? That was an actual heathen that said that.
Right.
In John 4. You know what I'm saying? Now the Syrophoenician woman that was an Israelite, but you know, like when he said, you know not what you worship for salvation of the Jews.
Right.
That was that was one of those transports from 2 Kings 17, man.
Yep.
You see, but these Christians don't go into that.
Exactly.
They don't want to vocab ain't gonna break that down. You know what I'm saying? People like vocab. You know what I'm saying? Because you really low level, man. You know, and what the brothers want to go into this whole Calvinist thing. Let's get into it, because at the end of the day, it's still for the elect. But who is the elect is the case.
Yeah,
who is the elect at the end of the day? What nation are the elect from? All right.
Right. And the reason why the brother said this whole Calvinist thing is because, I mean, this is going back to Esau's biblical scholars and their theologian scholars. Because you have Vocab Malone that we said earlier. That's, you know, he was just recently in Cleveland a few weeks ago, but he's been all over the place. Just really trying to stir confusion, trying to ask brothers questions. And it's the same stuff he asks everywhere, whatever camp and GMS that he goes to, which is why we don't deal with the guy no more when he comes up, because it's to the point where it's like, bro, what else can be said? It's at this point, it's casting pearls under swine when it's up there. And he ain't going to do nothing with it but render and trample it over. Yep. All right, he's not going to appreciate it because it's not meant for him to appreciate it, because he is a heathen. Okay? Was that it on that John 4?
Just the last little bit.
Cool.
I'll read it again. Matthew 24.
Okay.
Matthew 24,
didn't we read John 4? Okay, we quoted John 4.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Now, can you go into that word witness real quick, Baba Kishar? Because you'll find the word martyr within that.
This is Matthew 24.
Because eventually, if you believe, like, your faith is going to be tried. All right? You see what just happened. And I'm going to keep using this example, Lord willing, until the chariots come. But 4 years ago, these people that claim they're saved and they boasted on it very proudly went right to Esau because their comforts were compromised. All right? They went right to Esau and said, forget what the Bible talking about. And they tried to use God and the Bible to justify it. They tried to use God and the Bible to justify that action. All right, man, where I work at, I done heard every ridiculous excuse under the sun.
Somebody at my job recently just died from that shit. About 2 months ago.
Yeah.
About 2 months ago, he took it, and then he found out that I didn't do it, and he was trying to figure out, he was like, damn, how you still got a job here? Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, I did my exemption, and hey, I prayed to the Lord, and that's what happened. And eventually, months later, he dropped dead. And then this is somebody that I've known from he used to work at me in my old job back in 2017.
Damn.
And he dropped dead, man. He had clots all up in his body.
He died?
The guy I'm talking about?
Yeah, I didn't know. I remember you telling me about the clots and everything.
Yeah. He dropped dead 2 months ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. A coworker of mine, I ain't gonna say where I work, but it's a coworker, middle-aged, maybe a little older than middle-aged, an Edomite dude, went to work and died in his car on third shift and was found. Yeah, his body was found when second shift was coming in.
Damn.
So his body was sitting there in that car with the windows rolled up, stinking hot for hours. And right in the spirit had it, right when I was coming to work, that's where I seen all the cops. They had stuff taped off, the yellow tape. You know what I'm saying? Detectives all out there. And dude ended up dying in his car from that shit. But just going back to the point.
These are Christians, bro.
These are so-called Christians, bro. Yeah. These are people that went over and did that just because their faith was tested. And it's going to just go to show you that these people really don't have faith. It's just cute. It's hunky-dory when shit ain't happening in the world that's bad. Excuse my French. It's cute when you ain't truly being tested to that magnitude. You know? Go ahead. You got that definition?
For witness,
Come.
this is witness in Matthew 24 and 14 is Strong's G3142 is Monterreyan. And it goes into, it says testimony. We're going to the root word. Root word is martis. It says a witness in a legal sense. In a historical sense, one who is a spectator of anything of contest.
That makes me think of Hebrews 12.
Mm-hmm.
So ready to call it witnesses.
Right.
That's
Says in an ethical sense, those who after his example have proved the strength and genuineness of their faith
nice.
in Mashiach by undergoing a violent death.
There you go. Now, is that saying everybody's going to have to undergo a violent death? No. But the scriptures do say we die all the day long in this flesh. So every day we experience death in these bodies. Every day you're tempted with something. Every day you're afflicted with something. Every day you're persecuted with something, which is eventually going to segue into an exact persecution that's going to happen to the actual Israelites. All right, you can read that in where is that at? In 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. Matter of fact, really quick, I'll read it. When you read this here in the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter, it also goes into a crucial insurrection that's going to come to the people of the Lord. And when you read this here in the book of Revelation, chapter 20, and I might as well just bring this out real quick too, since you got some guys that's butchering this verse as well. But when you read this here in the book of Revelation, chapter 20, and I'm going to jump straight to it here. Let's see here. I'm going to jump and start at verse 8. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 7 and read down. Because this is also a reason why there's so much confusion on the world as well. And also just going back to the point that was made mention of Calvin, John Calvin. You know, John Calvin is pretty much a theologian scholar, somebody that vocab promotes. You know, he'll openly say that he learns under the writings and teachings in the sense of John Calvin. Right. All right, and John Calvin, his stance is the same thing as our stance, which when it comes to 1 Peter 1, which we're going to go into. Right. And that stance is going into those scattered Israelite or those scattered individuals, those strangers that the Apostle Peter wrote those letters to were actual Israelites. Yep. And John Calvin has that same stance. But Vocab Malone, who openly said that he supports John Calvin's teachings, disagrees with that stance. All right?
Altogether said they'd be agreed.
Exactly. So, and we're going to see more and more of it. We're already seeing in the world of Israel, right, you know, because we know the Lord is going to visit Israel first. But it's also going to segue into the world of Christianity and all these naysayers and such that come up and pretty much scoff against the Bible. All right, the Lord he got y'all number too, and he ain't forgot. Now, I'm going to read this in Revelation 20 because it goes into an insurrection that's going to happen to Jacob. Now, this is Revelation 20, and I'm going to start at verse 7. And it says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And that's going into the start of the Renaissance. Now, under the start of the Renaissance, you had their version of Christianity that was being pushed and pumped throughout the whole world. You can research the doctrine of discovery for that matter. And what they pushed pretty much was a secular worldview within our culture. All right, and they put different gods with, well, really, Jake really started that worshiping of the gods within the Bible and incorporating that, you know what I'm saying, Council of Nicaea, Constantine, and so forth. So Jake was wicked those thousands of years. Don't get it twisted. You had a few good ones here and there, of course, but Jake was wicked. But after those 1,000 years, when Esau came back out, after he was out of his prison, all right, they adopted Christianity and they bastardized it and demonized it even more. Right. To the point where they went all over the four corners of the earth and subjugated the world under their belief system. And if you wasn't with that, you suffered. So in a sense, we were martyrs because they went over there and they killed us off because of our culture. Right. You know?
Well, that's in Revelation 11 where it says that we pretty much walked in sackcloth
exactly.
and ashes for that time. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much us being subjugated, us being in a hardcore slavery. You know, pretty much it was a witness and a testimony that, look, you know what I'm saying, we was in a state of mourning because we didn't have the truth. You know what I'm saying? So we're pretty much martyrs in a sense. You just added on to your point.
And we know that there was a lot of wicked Jakes. At the end of the day, we deserve everything that went our way because we rebelled against the Lord. But you still had righteous Jakes that was keeping those traditions even when they went into Africa. Those regions that they were at where the Lord used Esau to go to those different parts, you still had Jakes that were still practicing our culture. You know, so Esau still came and got them. That way prophecy could be fulfilled. All right, but that was a key reason of why our people are so indoctrinated with this BS right now. All right, during this short season that Satan got let loose, he was able to deceive the world in the utmost fashion. All right, and a huge part of that deception is what we call modern day Christianity. All right.
Yep, he was able. I'm sorry if I may.
Good.
Real quick. Revelation. I think it's Revelation 17, where it says that he blasphemed the angels.
That's Revelation 13.
Revelation 13.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He blasphemed the angels and the Most High.
Right.
You know, those that dwell in heaven, the prophets, the men of the Lord. That's when Esau used his Renaissance art, his medicine, his history to completely rewrite history and make it a lie.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Scripture calls him. It says he's a forger of
lies.
man.
Right.
But the Lord allowed that to happen so that the falling away, as it says in 2 Thessalonians, would take place.
Mm-hmm.
This all had to take place for a reason. You see, we had to come to a point where we didn't know who we were as a people that would make the Ezekiel 37 and Revelation 11, that would make us understanding who we were so great in this last time.
Right.
Because it's like, well, we spent trillions of dollars for these people to not know who they were.
Right.
How the fuck did they understand and figure this out?
Exactly.
Which is what Vocab Malone, James White, these theologians, these hirelings, if you will, even amongst Jake, you know what I'm saying, these hirelings, for them to keep teaching the lies so that their pockets can continue to be filled, so that they could continue to still push forth the lies so that we wouldn't understand who we were as a people.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Yeah, it costs a lot of money to hide the truth. You know, but it was free for the truth to be revealed.
Man, yeah.
You know, it just goes to show you the Lord is ultimately in control. And he allowed it to happen in his time. That way prophecy will be fulfilled. As you quoted that 2 Thessalonians 2. You know, only he who now letteth will let until he is taken and destroyed. So the Lord allowed it to happen for so much time. That way prophecy would be fulfilled. And in the very end, simultaneously, all these final ones would happen at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, now this is back in Revelation 20 and 8. And it says, and he shall go out to deceive the nations. And part of that deception was through modern day Christianity. Okay? It says, and he shall go out to deceive the nations. Also part of that deception was saying, y'all ain't the Jews. Y'all ain't the Israelites. These people are the Jews.
Right.
Excuse me. You know? So it says, and shall go out to deceive the nations, which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together in battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. Now that verse right there is going into right around the same time as the nations will be deceived, right after these prophecies are happening. Because remember, when you read these verses, this is a conglomeration of a few hundred years compacted into 1 or 3 verses, I'd rather say. All right, so you would have Satan that would get let loose for that short season. The Renaissance will take place. Doctrine of discovery, subjugation, Revelation 11, the sackcloth point, you know what I'm saying, those 3.5 days, all that had to happen. And right at the end of that, you had Gog and Magog that's coming out from the woodwork, just as Ezekiel 38's written, putting hooks in their jaws and bringing them into that ancient way, because the Lord is going to use them to fulfill prophecy. All right, and the destruction of Babylon, right? So when you continue to...
Like we say, because, you know, then you have that one talking about they're going to rule. The Lord said he's against God as well.
Right.
He said, I'm against you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, because why? Because they're Edomites as well. They rule, they're related to the rulers, you know,
Right.
of the world.
Well, when you read it in Ezekiel 37, and then you segue to 38 and 39, it shows you that the Israelites were going to have to wake up first.
Right.
This large army was going to come. The 12 tribes side, this teaching, this culture that's being brought back was going to be reestablished on the earth. And then you get chapter 38 and chapter 39 going into Russia, Gog and Magog. So it's happening exactly the way prophecy declares it would happen. All right, but going back into I want to finish this up real quick. It says in verse 9, the end of verse 8, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is in the sand of the sea. And this is going into, again, the Lord putting those hooks in the jaws of Russia, who are Edomites. Verse 9, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints. Now, that's not saying that Gog and Magog is going to go up there and compass the saints. No, this is simultaneously going to be happening in Babylon. The heathen here, this insurrection that's getting ready to happen that you can read about in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, right in the midst of Russia getting prepared for battle. All right, you got the Edomites that are here plotting on the Jakes that are in the land. That's why it says compass about them the beloved city, the saints about. All right, the beloved city is a people before it's a place. Okay, so in the midst of all of that, there's going to be an insurrection that's going to be raised up against the Israelites here, right? it says, in the beloved city, and fire came down from the Most High of heaven and devoured them. And how's that fire going to come? By Gog and Magog and the rest of those nations. So this is all a conglomeration of everything that's happening simultaneously right now. Okay? That's it on that precept. Look like y'all looking for something over there.
Yes, it's one. You brought out a camp when you came to one of those Fridays in Ezra's.
You speak up a little higher.
Oh, so like you brought out a camp on one of the Fridays, the last Friday that you came to campus in Second Ezra's, I believe, where it says that the children that have not seen me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Second Ezra 1.
Second Ezra's 1.
Yeah, that's starting around like verse 35, reading on down.
Is that the one you was talking about?
Yeah, I think that's one I'm looking for.
Cool. You was going to bring it out?
Verse 35. Second Ezra's 1 or 35?
No, Second Ezra chapter 1, verse around like 35. It's like the last few verses. You technically start at 37.
I'll give you the leaders, the prophets.
Yeah, that's the point right there. But it starts around like verse 35, going into how the Lord was gonna take away our old way. Really, could start around verse 30 if you want to get to that part, what y'all talking about, and how the Lord was gonna pretty much bring us in heathen mindsets to pretty much continue the covenant.
Right. Yeah. Because I was looking. I think it's the Second Ezra's 1.
Yeah, but that's fine. We can bring that out because it goes right into it.
Done.
Okay, you got it.
This is Second Ezra's 1, and I started verse 30. It says, I gather you together as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings, but now, what shall I do unto you? I will cast you out from my face. It says,
that's us being casted away as a people.
Right.
You know, we had Jeremiah 15. It says pretty much that we wouldn't be a people to the Most High no more due to us following after the heathen, their gods, their ways of life, their ideologies. We were casted away.
right.
You know.
Verse 31, when ye offered unto me, I will turn my face unto you.
And this is what happened. The Lord stopped dealing with us as a nation of people. This all had to happen. Him saying this was him saying, I'm going to scatter you among the heathen pretty much.
Right.
All right? Thence will I gather you, thence when I fetch you, as Deuteronomy 30 says.
Right.
You got it.
It says, when ye offer unto me, I will turn my face from you for your solemn feast days, your new moons, and your circumcisions have I forsaken.
Right, and the so-called Christian will look at God's, I'd rather say the Israelites' misdealings with God and why God stopped dealing with Israel, and they just keep it at that.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, God ain't dealing with Israel no more, now everybody can make it. Well, no, you're missing a whole big portion of the Bible stating that we were going to be returned back unto the Lord, and he was going to return back to us.
Right.
You know, and how was that done? Via Yahushua coming, setting up the 12, all right, and preaching the gospel all the way into the end of where we're at right now.
Right.
That had to happen, and that's something that they completely miss. It goes right over their heads. And the reason why it goes over their heads is because they're mad that they can't build with us. Just like back in the time of the second temple being built. When you read that in First Ezra, they mad. You got it, bro.
Verse 32, I send unto you my servants, the prophets, whom ye have taken and slain, and torn, it says, and torn their bodies in pieces, whose blood I will require of your hands, saith the Lord. Thus saith the Almighty Power, your house is desolate, I will cast you out as a wind do stubble.
There you go. So we had to be cast out of the land. And as we were cast out of the land, what happened? We were scattered among the heathen and followed their ways. The Lord gave us to our ruin exactly what we was doing to ourselves.
Right.
He goes, shoot, instead of doing this bullshit in the Holy Land, I'll just send y'all asses in the areas that, you know, y'all can keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know, or eventually we was going to be brought back unto the Lord. You know?
I got a real quick one.
Well,
Come on.
They go into the word saying where you don't go to these lands, you're going to say you're not my people. But they're in these lands, now we're waking up, now we're seeing the Lord say, yeah, we are, that's our power.
Exactly.
You know, going pursuing like the Hosea, rough paraphrase.
Real quick, let me just back up that verse that you just read. Leviticus 18, verse 24 and 25. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, meaning the things that was quoted for us not to follow according to the law, such as the commandments. Everything that was given and written as a commandment was to be specifically against what the heathen were doing, right? It says, for in all these things the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. Boom, there it is. Verse 25 is the point. And the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. You see? So who are those old ancient inhabitants of the land of Canaan? The Canaanites.
Right.
What were they doing? They were serving idols. They were into morality. They was drinking blood. They were serving other gods. You know what I'm saying? They was doing all these different things that the Lord commanded us not to do, right? So what the Lord did, he commanded us to go in there and to actually kill them off.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, I'll read that last part again. It says, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit, all right, and another way of saying visit is pretty much to judge.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Pakawad in the Hebrew.
Yeah, to judge or to bring, I'm going to visit you. I'm going to punish them, right?
Right.
It says, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants.
There you go. There you
See?
go. And it just really quick, before you continue on that, and that's the spirit that was brought out, because in this lesson we're going to talk about that. You know, how you had Israelites that were scattered in these areas where these apostles were sent to, because that was another argument that Vocab and them made. Pretty much, well, why would God send these individuals to these foreign lands when you only had a few Israelites in these lands with all these different heathen? No, that scripture right there says we were vomited out of that land.
Yeah.
All right, meaning that there's only a few of us that were even there that were left, and it was more of us everywhere else.
Well, yeah.
You know, we're gonna go into that too.
A mass majority really was in Jerusalem. Now you did have Jake that was in Galilee and Nazareth and things of that nature.
Right.
But, where it came to those who actually still were following the customs. I'm doing the air quotes right now.
Right.
The pretty much the circumcision. That was mainly just in Jerusalem.
Right.
You
Right.
see what I'm saying? But how can I continue?
Yeah, I got you, because I was gonna even say, because even it got to the point where the Lord even took them out of the equation.
Yeah, exactly.
Jerusalem was even, the whole land was made desolate, bro.
Yeah.
Obviously you got people that are there, but the true heirs are not in that land like that. It's only, of course, Jake is scattered here and there over there, But bro, the Lord got rid of Israel being in that land for the time period for prophecy's sake. Luke 21. We can get that later on as well, Lord willing. You got it, Tosh.
Yep, just continuing on the point, it says, verse 26, it says, ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled, that the land spew not you out also, when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Yeah. So the Lord casted the nations out of that land for what? Due to rebelliousness. I can't even call it rebelliousness, because they were never with the Lord anyway. So through the wickedness. But you had Jake that dwelt in that land and was still following the same customs. So what did the Lord do? He vomited us out of the land too. Got rid of us. And where were we at as we were vomited? Among the heathen. All right, where eventually the word was going to be brought to us, and we were going to be gathered, and we were going to be fetched, pertaining to Deuteronomy chapter 30.
Right.
Was that it on that one?
Yep.
God, you got it, Amath.
Back in 2 Exodus 1 and 34, it says, and your children shall not be fruitful, for they have despised my commandments, and done the thing that is evil before me. Your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which not having heard of me, yet shall believe me, to whom I shall show no sign.
And this is talking about the elect.
Yes.
All right, the elect, who are Israelites, by the way. All right, Isaiah 44 is a great precept to this here. All right, you were going to surname yourself by the name of Jacob and subscribe yourself by the name of Israel. All right, so this is what it's going into. You had to be somewhere else in order to surname yourself this.
Yeah.
We were scattered among the heathen, so we were calling ourselves American, African, saying Hotep to each other. You know what I'm saying? You had Jake walking around calling themselves Moors with their little ugly ass hat with that feather thing on the top of it. Jake was doing all that shit under the sun, celebrating Easter, Christmas. Had the red, white, and blue shirt with the stars and your dad's sandals on with the spatula during the 4th of July.
Yep.
Had all of that, man. That's what that verse is talking about. People like that, we're going to return to the Lord. Okay? You got it out.
It says, yet they shall do that I have commanded them. It says, they have seen no prophets, yet shall call their sins to remembrance.
We have not been in the land of Israel. We have not seen the Red Sea split in two. We have not seen the cloud by day, pillar of fire by night with us for 40 years. We've never seen or bore witness to the stuff that our fathers saw. Now the Lord will give us glimpses here and there or stuff when he wants to, but it's ultimately about faith. All right, and I know myself personally, and I'm pretty sure the rest of y'all who are listening, can vouch. Of course, you brothers, you know what I'm saying? But we didn't have to see anything first in order to be converted.
Right.
We were converted strictly by the word being brought to us. When I heard Deuteronomy 28 first brought out to me in 2012, I was sold, bro. I was, sold on knowing I'm an Israelite. It still took me a few years to get things in order to eventually come out to the camp.
Right.
But we knew we were Israelites in 2012, and I stopped identifying myself as black. Stopped eating pork, was still, doing the pork casing shit, wasn't really that zealous about it, but still tried.
Yeah,
because there was a progress,
That was faith.
but it was according to faith. Exactly. It was faith. Faith made us move the way that we did. It didn't take us having to see something,
Right. It says, read that again, bro. This second Ezra 1:36.
Hey, Salaki, I'm going to say this too. I was smoking a blunt when Deuteronomy 28 was mentioned to me, so that's some heathen shit.
Yeah.
Me too.
I was smoking, ooh, that's deep.
I remember the exact day.
Yeah. I was getting high as a cloud, smoking like a mug, man. So we was like them heathen that it's talking about right there.
It just made sense. We was reading, it was like, bro, like,
Yeah.
Egypt again, slave shit. I was like, whoa, that's talking about us? I'm like, well, so we the Israelites?
Yeah. My homeboy Mississippi came to the crib. You know what I'm saying, man? Man, read Deuteronomy 28, bro. He reading and teaching it. Me and my roommate. It's funny how it was too, because I was convinced, and my roommate was like, "Nah, man, hell no." You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
yeah.
Greg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you already know. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just crazy how it happened. I was convinced, and he wasn't.
That's Matthew 13.
Exactly.
It says, like, when the word goeth out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it's sold by the wayside. The devil cometh and snatcheth the word. Like,
Yeah.
you don't understand it. That's
right.
Matthew 13. But it said, but the word also sown is it can go to the good ground too.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So like, hey, bro, this is spiritual, bro.
That's
like
right.
this is heavily spiritual, man.
Absolutely.
It has to be spiritual when you think back. Like you said, when you hear that Deuteronomy 28, you're like, whoa, they're talking about us.
Mhm.
That's that remembrance coming back to you. Like, we've been sinning back.
Yeah,
Like, I like this example with Josiah. When they found the scroll, they were like, damn,
Yeah.
we've been going off.
Yeah, they lamented when they read the law. They lamented.
Read his garment, he was like, bro, we are done.
And they lamented because they knew, according to that standard, there was no hope.
Yeah.
That's why they lamented, because they were like, we're pretty much doomed.
Yep.
That's why Yahweh's existence is so important for us to be brought back into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You can't discredit Yahweh, man. Even for Israelites that are out here that say they believe in Yahweh, their actions are completely otherwise. The way they teach, what they're involved in.
Right.
And they give it, they give this thing of ours a bad look. I'm gonna just say it, but we get it, and we understand why. Because even the Pharisees gave this thing of ours a bad look back in the ancient world.
Right.
So we understand it's just got to be like that until the end.
Right.
So, second Ezra 1:37 says, I take to witness the grace of the people to come, whose little ones rejoice in gladness. And though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, yet in the spirit believe the thing that I say.
There you go. You got it. Salaki.
No, like I said, we ain't seen it with body light. Like I said, we ain't saw the pillar. I mean, the pillar by day or the
cloud by day, pillar of fire by night.
We haven't seen those
Which was the
things.
chariot close and direct over us, pretty much.
Yeah, we haven't seen that, but like I said, the Lord has brought us up in that faith through the Spirit. Those faith is the things that we really see that we boldly believe this because we have that faith in that belief. All right, and then like I said, it goes all the way back to that remembrance. Right, we don't remember our past, our past lives, but we have that faith and belief that the Lord, what He's bringing out, is for Israel. All right, you can't, and even when we say the 2/3, the Lord will tell you that the 2/3 are going to be destroyed. How is He going to jump over the 2/3 and take the other nation?
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
It don't make any sense.
Yeah, the Lord got all this animosity and hatred toward the Israelites, but the nations are straight. They chilling. All you got to do is just say, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense. And again, that's why it's important to understand prophecy. Because when you read the prophecies, it tells you the kingdom of heaven being on the earth, who occupies the land in the kingdom of heaven. And it ain't the heathen. The heathen are going to have to pay tribute to the true heirs of the earth, which are the Israelites. That's in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Revelation 2 tells you that the nations are going to have to come up to us. And if they rebel, they're going to be dashed as a potter's vessel, pretty much. Now, if it's for everybody, then you mean to tell me this Moabite gonna be in the kingdom good, but this Moabite over here still eating the mouse, he gonna dash them? Like, no. These are the heathen. The Lord is gonna have the Israelites here and the heathen there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is.
Yeah.
If it's for everybody, then why is it still separated in the kingdom of heaven? Makes no sense.
The Lord said he changed not. We just read in Malachi 3.
Right.
When you look into going to Judges, he told them to go into, like the priest quoted earlier, we supposed to went into the land and wipe them out. Right? But then when we start trying to keep some of them with us, what the Lord say? Okay, well you don't want to kill everybody. What's going to happen? I'm going to make them rule over you in due time.
Yeah, Joshua, yep.
And Joshua, I'm going to make you rule over them in due time. So that's one thing the Lord. Why did he do that? Because we were disobedient, and also the Lord said we're supposed to be separated from these people.
Right.
Because what? We take heed, we start dealing with their women. Next thing you know, we up there. Can we pray? You see that all time to time. Yeah, can I bring my statue of my God in here? Just over here, we give in. Next thing you know, through the generations going through, we start worshiping their God. So the Lord said we're going to do away with that because we're going to have the heathen over here, and you'll be over here in your land.
Everything's supposed to be separated at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything was supposed to be separated according to the bounds of the children of Israel.
That's right. That's right. The scriptures say, let all things be done decently and in order. You know, so looking at the way Christianity teaches the Bible, well, that's an unordered way of thinking. You know, that's not decent nor in order.
Right.
Okay? You got it, Amaki.
Well, yeah, this is back in 2 Ezra 1:38. It says, and now, brother, behold what glory, and see the people that cometh from the east, unto whom I will give for leaders Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Amos.
Now let me say this real quick too, if I may. According to the law, when you have a leader that's set over you, can they be another nation? Absolutely not. So why would it word it that way in there? That just goes to show you that these are Israelites it's talking about here. We're going to accept these leaders to be our people, which are Israelites. In order to really understand that concept, you have to know the intricate details of certain laws.
Right.
You know, because these people, these heathen, wouldn't have accepted them like that. You know? So it just goes to show you it's an Israel thing, man.
Right.
All right, and also too, these leaders that he names, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's ultimately going into the fact that we were going to rely on their words, their teachings, their testimonies. You know, we're going to go back into our heritage. That's what that verse is saying. You're going to return to your heritage. You got it out.
It says Jacob, Osias, Amos, and Micah, Joel, Abdias, and Jonas, Nahum, and Habakkuk.
And these are all Old Testament prophets that is named. And certain of them might be pronounced a little different because it's a Greek translation of the word.
Right.
You know, but these are all the Old Testament prophets minus Jeremiah and Ezra and Isaiah, which you'll find Jeremiah and Isaiah talked about in the next chapter.
Right.
You got it.
It says Sophonius, it says Aggius, Zachary, and Malachi, which is called also an angel of the Lord.
And it's beautiful how like those last few were actually in order by book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they were in order by book.
So Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi.
Kind of. Yeah, okay. Kind of, go ahead. And then after that, we can pull that on 1 Peter.
All right.
Did you finish up that Matthew 24?
Yeah, you finished.
Okay, cool.
This is This is John 20 and 29. It says, Yahweh Shah said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. And that's the key. You know what I'm saying? He said unto Thomas, he said, look, you seen me. You know, you got a chance to see me. You see my wounds. Now you believe. But those are going to be considered blessed that have not seen me but do believe.
That's it.
Those that have with bodily eyes and have not seen but yet do believe me. As it says in Matthew 13, it says, for blessed are your eyes for they see and your ears for they hear. You know? And that's talking about us, man.
Right.
You see, because you don't have the nations, you don't have the Moabites and the Elamites and my whole thing about Christianity is this: if Christianity is for everybody, right, and for all different kinds of nations, once you see Hamites, Moabites, Elamites, Ishmaelites, all these different heathen nations that aren't Israelites, wouldn't you see them out on the highways and byways and preaching? You know, when you see them preaching, when you see them setting up the 12 tribes chart,
Solid point, bro.
you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't see that. I'm saying you don't see that happening right now.
Yeah.
Now you do see, if I may say, real
Yeah,
quick,
come.
you do see different. You do see camps that are being set up, and individuals within the camp may look like an Ishmaelite, they may look like an Edomite, a Moabite, a Hamite, this, that, and the third. But you ain't seeing all these different nations of people setting up charts and out there on the highways and byways pushing the word. You don't see that.
You don't see that.
You know?
Especially in the very end.
Yeah.
Why is Christianity getting weaker? Like literally by the numbers. There are more people leaving Christianity than ever before. Toward the end, the truth would gain strength.
Right.
All right? Because, wickedness, like you read it in Isaiah 25, it goes into this mountain, how the Lord would destroy that mountain that put the covering cast over all the people. So eventually lies would be swept under the rug and truth would be magnified and revealed more. But under the lens of Christianity, they're losing. People are leaving in waves and such. And what we're doing is growing. So that's a solid point that you brought out right there, bro. Because right now, you're supposed to be seeing influx of all these cats if it's pertaining to prophecy.
Right.
According to prophecy, you should see them all being evangelists right now. They should all be evangelizing like crazy. It shouldn't be the same 3-4 guys you see on social media going to these different parts. Okay, that's a solid point, bro. And there was also 1 Peter 1. Yeah, and I want to pull up that word foreknowledge. I'm trying to look this. If you can pull it up, I'm just interested to see what the word actually says. But you can read it first. Because the foreknowledge part starts in like verse 2 or 3.
I got the scripture here.
Okay.
This is 1 Peter 1:1. It says, Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia.
There you go. So it mentions these strangers here. Now, it says strangers, but does that mean that it's talking about the actual heathen? No. The scriptures say that we will be strangers in foreign lands.
Right.
Peter, the apostle Peter, wrote this message to the Israelites that were scattered throughout these different regions. And even John Calvin, who was a theologian scholar, said the same thing. All right, he said the same exact thing, man. But I find it ironic enough that vocab is in disagreements.
Right.
Like you said earlier, can two walk together? At least they agree. All right, so even one of the top theologian scholars is telling you here that these are actually Israelites that were scattered in these regions that the apostle Peter was talking about. Okay? You got it, bro.
It says to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, Bithynia.
Ironically enough, one of those names are actually a book that we have in the Bible, the book of Galatians. All right, which I'm going to pull it up here shortly as well. And we're going to talk about that. Yep. So these Galatians that the Apostle Peter wrote to, including those other places, Apostle Peter, he wrote that. I'm talking about these Galatians that the Apostle Peter.
I thought you said they wrote to the book to the Galatians. I was thinking about the book.
It's all good. It's all good. It's cool. These different churches right here are Israelites. All right, in one of the books of the Apostle Paul, like Tazama said, Galatians is listed right here.
Right.
Yep,
and it goes back into Isaiah the 11th chapter.
Yeah.
Those of us, the Israelites that will be scattered. And it mentions all these different nations and different lands where we will be scattered. Right. Mm-hmm. Verse 2.
I want to read this in the NLT real quick.
Oh yeah.
This is 1 Peter 1:1 in the NLT. All right. Now the NLT, I throw the disclaimer out there. I used to do it a lot, but I chilled out on it. But I always encourage when you read the NLT, at least have a thorough understanding of the King James Version. Because other versions do go off sometimes. You got to have the discernment to be able to spot out what's off and what's not off when you read these different versions. Because you see even some other Israelite groups are taking a lot of these verses in the NLT for face value when some of those verses don't mean what it's saying.
Right.
Okay, just wanted to put that disclaimer out there, But this is back in 1 Peter 1:1. This is from Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach. I am writing to God's chosen people. Who are God's chosen people? The Israelites. I am writing to God's chosen people who are living as foreigners in the provinces of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. All right, so that verse right there is backing that up, saying, look, these are foreigners or strangers. So that shows you strangers can mean one thing in the scriptures, but also it can mean something different in the scriptures. Just because you see the word stranger, it doesn't always mean that it's talking about an exact heathen. All right, you have to understand the mystery of the Gentiles before you have a thorough understanding of these strangers that it's talking about. Okay, and you understand that mystery of the Gentiles more when you go into the Old Testament prophecies pertaining to what was going to happen to the Israelites, especially pertaining in the last days.
Yep.
All right, you have to know those prophecies in order to know the end. You have to know the beginning in order to understand the end. Yahweh Shai says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. He ain't just the Omega. All right, you have to understand the beginning and the end to have a thorough understanding on what's contained within the Holy Bible. Okay?
Yep. Specifically, also too, to add on to the point, the Greek captivity, man, because that's where a lot of Christians get things messed up. They just jump straight to the New Testament and thinking that's talking about everybody.
Right.
But they don't have no recollection of what was going on in the Greek captivity. You know what I'm saying? What was going on during the Hellenization of the Jews, the gymnasiums, and all. You know what I'm saying? That was Jake.
You got to know those books.
You got to know those books. You know what I'm saying? You just can't just read. You know, you just can't just go into it and say, no, the New Testament, Rome, everybody, these Gentiles, all nations of people. You know what I'm saying? It don't make, and then when you read particular scriptures, it says that there's neither Jew nor Greek.
Right.
How come it doesn't say there's neither Jew nor Hamite?
Right.
It just says Greek.
Yeah. In Romans.
In Romans, though. When the Greek captivity was already done at that.
Yeah.
Like, you know
exactly.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. When you read these, the book of Galatians, the book of Corinthians, the book of Colossians, why is there not a book of Babylon, the book of Libya, the book of all these different areas that actually heathen dwell in? Because there was a bulk of Israelites around this time period that were in these regions in Asia Minor that they were sent out to.
Right.
Okay? That's actual secular history. Your historians will tell you that.
Oh, that's why you need, like I said, the Apocrypha. You know, Christians don't even go to the Apocrypha. That's 1,000 years, 12, 1,300
Yeah, it's a lot of time.
Yeah. Of captivity that we endured. So you're taking out a whole lot when you jump, skip over that and go straight to, the Roman captivity and so forth.
Yeah, it's about like 500 years.
Yeah. That's all good though. We understand.
You know.
Yeah.
I got a precept though real quick just back with what you're going
For sure, bro. For
This
sure.
is the book of St. John, chapter 11, starting verse 49. It says that one of them named
John
Caiaphas,
35.
being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahweh Shai should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of the Most High that were scattered abroad.
Come on, bro. You can't make this up, man. And the reason why Caiaphas knew that, because he planned on killing him.
Yep.
So he knew they already had it set in their mind that he was going to die. They're like, no, we're going to kill this dude.
Right.
He just ended up prophesying it in that way.
Yeah.
Because the word prophecy just means to say before. That doesn't mean Caiaphas was a righteous individual because he spoke something and it happened. Because you got this whole Alex Jones thing and this whole shooting of Donald Trump, and these people are saying he prophesied it. Okay, he prophesied it. Just like we've been prophesied and said that a long time ago that Trump was going to probably get shot.
Right.
But again, people are extolling what I just said, as Alex Jones said, to the heavens because it happened. Well, shoot, that don't make him righteous because it happened. Shit, it just happened.
Yeah.
Just like with Caiaphas.
Balaam was a heathen and he prophesied.
He prophesied and he was a heathen.
But the prophecy was towards the betterment of the nation of Israel.
Exactly.
He was just, Saul prophesied. He was amongst the prophets at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But
He
that
sure
doesn't make,
did.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly.
That was it on that book.
Come.
So back in 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 2,
Mhm.
it says, elect according to the foreknowledge of the most Yahweh the Father. Did you have that foreknowledge?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what this word says right here.
When you go into foreknowledge, it's Strong's G4268. Prognosis, it says foreknowledge, forethought, prearrangement.
Prearrangement, heavy. Wow.
And when you go into the root word is prognosco, and it says
To
have
know.
knowledge.
Yeah, to know, to have,
Prognostic,
gnostic.
like a prognosticator.
Mhm.
To forehand of those whom Yahweh elected to salvation, to predestinate.
Yeah, that's heavy. Because also, too, when you go into prognosticator, that word, it goes into knowing by the way of signs and such. You know what I'm saying? So right there, it's in a sense showing you according to the foreknowledge, and the Lord showed us that we're that by many different things. Now, obviously, it's faith, which is first and foremost. But he revealed certain things that confirmed it, like, oh man. You know, just as we was on the phone last night talking about our hell and our affliction, you know what I'm saying? Right when we was talking about it, the Lord had his chariot just in the sky. Like, golly, and then it just disappeared. You know, so it's so many different signs and ways the Lord shows us that he's dealing with us. You know, and it's endless. You know, and the first sign again is going into Yahweh's sacrifice, which is the ultimate sign that we need. We technically don't have to see the chariots and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? In order to deter us from the faith. But the Lord will reward you with those different things. You know, but again, according to the foreknowledge, that just goes to show you it's prearranged, as the brother just read the definition. And what's also prearranged back in the ancient world? Marriage. You know, when you have a woman that's betrothed to a man, that's a prearranged marriage there. All right, so according to the prearrangement of things, the Lord already has his elect set up, who are Israelites, by the way. All right, and the Apostle Peter knew that of a certainty. Go ahead, Matthew. You got a point?
I was gonna say, yeah, he arranged that marriage before the foundation of the earth was even created, bro. You know what I'm saying? Seal the elect, everything. The story was wrote out, like you said, going into the customs of our people. You know what I'm saying? The marriage custom, how they would do it prior, and then you know what I'm saying? Some time passed before they actually, you know what I'm saying?
That's
happened.
right.
And that's what the Lord, you know what I'm saying, did with us, man, through the Spirit right now. You know what I'm saying? He betrothed, you know what I'm saying, the nation of Israel even before the foundations. Now we coming into the time to where we coming into the ceremony, the actual wedding, man.
That's right.
You see, to where the elect, that she's gonna get beamed up, man.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, he betrothed the elect before the foundation of the earth. They were with Yahweh. You know, that's why it says according to the foreknowledge, because if we're of the elect, we were already there present with Yahweh before anyway. You know, like you got a hot boy right there.
Yeah.
You got it, bro.
Back up, you know, what Benaiah and stuff said. Sirach 24, verse 7 and 8, it says, with all these I saw rest, and in whose inheritance shall I abide? And this is talking about wisdom.
That's right.
Verse 1.
That's
verse
right.
8, it says, so the creator of all things gave me a commandment, and he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest, and said, let thy dwelling be in Jacob, and thine inheritance in Israel.
So this word here, which is wisdom, right? According to this verse, says that wisdom was only going to dwell, the wisdom of the Bible, of God, is only going to dwell within Jacob. So who possesses the wisdom in Acts? The apostles. The apostle Paul, all those different apostles, because Yahweh breathed on them, where they eventually received the Holy Spirit, and they was sent to prophesy and preach to those people in those foreign lands, right? Well, wait. Wisdom can only dwell within Israel.
Right.
And what those men preached was wisdom. All right, so that right there goes to show you subtly that what was preached in Acts, that wisdom that came out of them, rested amongst their audience who were Israelites.
Right.
Okay, you got it.
He created me from the beginning before the world, which is really talking about Yahweh.
Right.
And I shall never fail. It says, in the holy tabernacle I served before him, and so was I established in Zion.
There you go. Now also pertaining to the holy tabernacle, there was a point of time where the Lord was dealing with the tabernacle, but he already had foreknowledge and foreunderstanding of it, that the tabernacle really is a people before it's a place. That's why you read it in books like Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel 11, going into how we would be scattered among the heathen. And in those lands we were scattered at, we would be for little sanctuaries. So the Lord still dwells within that sanctuary. It's just not a physical building like it was before. All right, so according to this verse here, yeah, his wisdom dwells within that tabernacle, but that tabernacle is still in existence right now just through men. That's why I made mention Zion, which means monument in the Hebrew, to Zion one. Okay, you got it.
That was what I meant.
That was it on that one. Cool, we can jump back to that 1 Peter. And about to show somebody can hold Galatians 4. Okay.
All right, this is 1 Peter 1 and 2. It says, elect according to the foreknowledge of the Most High, Yahweh the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit, unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Grace unto you and peace be multiplied.
Grace unto you, which is the period of time that we be under before the end. You know, he said this grace is for you, because we would appreciate it and keep those customs as we're here to the best of our ability, you know, in the land of our captivity. Because he was writing that to strangers that were scattered in these different areas. Well, they would have to be under grace in those different areas. You can't keep the law in Galatia, you know, Pontus, Cappadocia. You couldn't keep the 100% law over there. You can't keep it, especially here now. It's just like our upbringing in America. You know, we can't keep the law. We need grace as we're over here.
Yep.
You know, which you read it earlier, Amathia, and one of y'all read it, 2 Ezra 1. I take the witness the grace of those people that are to come, who have not seen me with bodily eyes. All right, so this grace is necessary for us to get right as we're here and return unto the Lord. Okay? You got it out.
This is Galatians 4.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. A little more on that one. Yeah, I keep forgetting that, he's reading that and not you.
2 Peter 1:3, it says, "Blessed be the power and Father of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach from the dead."
That right, that lively hope, because without that, we'd be through.
Right.
We'd be gone. So that's a lively hope that we needed. And it's not just regular hope, which, faith is the substance of things hoped for, but he said a lively hope. So the Lord created our hope and made it actual image, his image, and set it here and died for us. We believe that. That's where our hope is right there in Yahweh Shai. And he called it a lively hope. I love the poetry of how it's worded. Because not only did he say hope, but he said lively hope. Meaning that, we were going to see our hope. We were going to, bear witness to it, being Yahweh Shai eventually. You got it. You can finish off on that verse and we can jump to Galatians.
Verse 4, it says, "To an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled."
And what is an
I was
inheritance?
about to say, that's the key word, is inheritance.
Yeah, a heritage, an heirloom. All right, there's a precept to that in Romans chapter 9, going into everything that was pertaining to Israel. The Apostle Paul literally lists our heritage when you read the first few verses on that. All right, and how he said we was going to get all that back. You got it, bro.
Right, it says, "To an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you."
There you go. Reserved in heaven for you. Now, what heaven is this? It's talking about the spirit realm? No. It's talking about here, the same thing that the apostles sought for in Acts 1. Is it now time to restore the kingdom of Israel? Now? And Yahweh Shai didn't correct them on that. He ain't saying, "No, y'all tripping, bro. It ain't the kingdom of Israel. It's the kingdom for everybody." No, he didn't correct them on that. It's still the kingdom of Israel, a heavenly inheritance that is going to be possessed on this heavenly earth that's coming.
Right.
With Jake ruling. Okay?
Yep. Well, Daniel 2. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Daniel 2, it said that the kingdom shall not be left to another people. But it also says in the same chapter that it's not going to, it's going to be an everlasting, it's going to be an everlasting kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that kingdom for? It's for Israel, man.
Right.
You see, it's not, when it said Daniel 2 is not going to be left to another people, that image is going to, the rock is going to come and smite the image at the feet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It says pretty much all different kingdoms are going to be broken up at that
Yeah.
time, man. It's going to be one kingdom and one nation of people that's going to be ruling, man.
That's right. That's right. This current infrastructure has to be destroyed before the new comes into play.
Mm-hmm. And that hasn't happened.
Right.
Daniel 2 and that part of the prophecy has not taken place yet.
Right.
Okay? So it's not how you going to equate all people being in this, being in that prophecy, quote unquote. But when you read in that prophecy, it says that all heathen nations are going to be brought down, and all different people are going to be casted down.
Yeah, and another thing, when you go into those chapters, you have these different nations that had their time: Babylon, Persian and the Medes, Greece, and then Rome, all the way into the end. Every single one of them captivities had a crucial thing to do with the fall of Israel. There wasn't no other nations that was involved in it like that. No, Israel was affected. No world was obviously affected, but Israel was crucially affected when you go into this history of all these kingdoms ruling. Yeah. All right, and now the second part of it, the Persians and the Medes, we was at least able to rebuild, but we still caught holy hell from them heathen when we tried to rebuild.
So we still in captivity.
Yeah, they affected the Israelites. Moab is not mentioned among these different nations right here. Now they were there, they were doing Moabite type shit, but this impacted the Israelites firsthand in detriment.
Yep.
Okay.
Through the spirit that was placed upon Cyrus, we still had to have permission, quote unquote, to build the temple.
What type of shit is that?
The Lord had to put the spirit upon the heathen to give us, quote unquote, permission to build.
Right. You got to go to the enemy for the one of all things. That pertains to Israel. That was given to Jake.
Yeah.
We were going to have to feel that. In every single one of them empires, we atrociously felt the impact of captivity, and what rebelling against the Lord did. Where eventually we will be brought back during that fourth beast. Pertaining to prophecy. You got it, bro.
This is Galatians 4. You want to start at 3 or?
No. I want you to start at about verse 26. And you can read down. Really, you can really just, hold on. Read down to verse 27, because we're getting to the latter end of the lesson. Because I did want to bring out part of this book right here.
This is Galatians 4:26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all.
Right, and that cuts that whole Africa Mother Earth shit. You know, now of course, yeah, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, yeah, Israel is technically connected to Africa right there, but it's Jerusalem that's the mother of us all. It's Jerusalem that technically is the land, the garden planted eastward in Eden. That's Jerusalem right there, the foundation of where righteousness came from, where the Lord blew his breath into Adam, where he was made a living soul, you know, a quickening spirit. That was over there in the land, the mother of us all. Okay, go ahead.
If I just may add on to a quick point, just to add on to that point, even when you get that word, it says Jerusalem, which is above, is the mother of us all.
We did a lesson on
Even when
this.
you get that word above, it goes into the same word that's in John 3. It says we're being born again. And that word again means to be born from above, which is talking about heavenly Jerusalem. Like it says in Hebrews 12, the heavenly Jerusalem, the assembly of the saints and things of that nature. Really specifically, when you even want to go deeper, talking about the elect of the nation of Israel.
Right.
These are these spirits that were preordained, as we was reading before knowledge, that are going to be elected to receive the knowledge, right? That are going to be elected and be beamed up to ultimately bring forth back the nation of Israel.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
because when you go into this this chapter here, and then when you go a few verses prior, he uses Sarah and Hagar as an example of the law versus faith in Yahweh Shai. You know, and he's using the example of pretty much, look, this persecuted the free woman. The bondwoman persecuted the free woman, using Hagar and Ishmael as an example of Isaac and Sarah. All right. Now, the reason why that's being brought up right now is because there was always a disagreement, especially back then when you read Galatians going into, you know, I'd rather put it like this. How can I word this here? You had Judaizers, and those Judaizers were those that were of the circumcision. You know, they were hell-bent on the law, saying you got to be circumcised, you know, and just those customs and such were heavily pushed. And in this letter here, it's the Apostle Paul that's pretty much saying, look, that was only for the time period that it was meant for, all right, which was to lead us to Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? So he's using Hagar as an example of the law and those that were hell-bent on the law, and Sarah, those that represent free under Yahweh Shai, free from the burdens that came with the violation of the law. And that's what that's going into. And the reason why is because, again, you had Israelites that were scattered to these different areas. You had Israelites that might not have been circumcised, that weren't circumcised. You had Israelites that was following the ways of the heathen. And you had the circumcision back then that was saying, don't go to them. Don't do that. Don't teach them. And if you do, you got to make sure they circumcised, and they better be circumcised. So there were some very strict stipulations that was set up. And the Apostle Paul is pretty much saying, look, these people got to be taught too. All right, and it further expounds symbolically saying, look, it's more that need Yahweh Shai that are scattered versus those that are keeping y'all's traditions right now. So if we go according to y'all's traditions, how is this word going to grow and spread throughout the four corners of the earth according to this standard? And that's what the Apostle Paul's talking about right here. Okay? You got it, Matthew.
Right. In Galatians 4 and 26 it says, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. For it is written, rejoice thou, barren that bearest not.
Rejoice thou, barren that bearest not. And you can find that precept in Isaiah 54. All right, Isaiah 54 and 1. Which rejoice thou, barren that bearest not, right? And that's talking about Jerusalem. Okay, and you can also read a precept. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull up this precept really quick, Mafia, and I'm going to give it right back to you. I'm going to read this in 2nd Ezra, the 2nd chapter, and I'm going to start at verse 2, and I'm going to give it right back to you, bro. But this is 2nd Ezra chapter 2, verse 2. And it says, matter of fact, I'm going to start at the top. Thus saith the Lord, I brought this people out of bondage, and I gave them my commandments, my servants the prophets, whom they would not hear, but despised my counsels. The mother that bare them said unto them, go your way, ye children, for I am a widow and forsaken. So we were vomited out of the land is what's that saying. Yep. All right, and he's comparing Jerusalem to being a widowed mother right here. Okay? Verse 3 says, I brought you up with gladness, but with sorrow and heaviness have I lost you. For you have sinned before the Lord your God, and done that thing which is evil before him. And the whole rest of the chapter goes into how eventually we were going to, wake back up when you start at verse 10. But that verse goes into as well that Israel is likened unto our mother. Okay? The Holy Land. Yep. You got it, Amar.
If I just may add to your point, because the Gentiles is talking about, those that are barren. You know what I'm saying? The break forth into singing, those thou that is barren, is really going into the fact of how the Israelites are being these scattered lands. we'll get the knowledge and we'll wake up.
Yeah,
Just add on to your point.
God, I was just about to see. You got it. That's the spirit
Oh,
that came out. Yeah, that was. It's all good, bro. It's
My
the
bad,
spirit.
my bad. I didn't know, it's like.
Nah, it's all good. It's the
I was just
spirit.
adding,
God, that's all good, bro. Nah, man, you ain't do nothing wrong.
Galatians 4:27. For it is written, rejoice thou barren that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate has many more children than she which has an husband.
Just as he broke it down.
Mm-hmm.
She that has a husband is going into the actual, the land, knowing you're an Israelite, this, that, and the third.
Circumcision.
The circumcision. It's the circumcision versus the uncircumcision. And what this verse is saying right here, there's a lot more of the uncircumcision that are among these different lands than even those that are circumcised in the Holy Land.
Right.
So the Apostle Paul had to paint that narrative to Jake to get it. And it's beautiful because again, if these were actually Gentiles that he wrote to, how the fuck would they even care about that?
Right, exactly.
Why would that even matter right there?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so according to the logic of a so-called Christian, that's pretty much saying, yeah, man, there's only a little bit of Jews, but these Gentiles that gotta come in, there's a lot more. There's a lot more of these Gentiles that's gonna be saved than the actual people of God. It makes no sense. Now I'm gonna read this really quick in this book. And I took the cover off of it, but it's called Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary. That way you all can see it for yourself. Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary. Okay. And it's really good stuff that's in here. And the Spirit had me reading this one day. And I was just scrolling through, just reading through, just processing it. And the Spirit had me stumble across the word diaspora, all right, or dispersion. Okay, and it says dispersion of the Jewish people. So whenever you get a chance, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's something that can be Googled, I'm pretty sure. But, if you want to get the book, you see the title of it and everything. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of reading, but I'm going to try to just make it as fast as possible, but at the same time, still to the point where you all can comprehend what's going on. Just for the sake of the lesson, don't want it to be super long. But this is the definition of dispersion, and it says dispersion of the Jewish people, which, obviously is talking about us, the Israelites.
Right.
It's just a suffix meaning to pertain to. Okay? If you know, you know. But it says, a scattering of the Jews among other nations. Throughout their history, the Hebrew people have experienced many dispersions, a term which comes from the Greek word meaning to scatter. Just as the prophecy said, we will be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and thence we would eventually be fetched, pertaining to Deuteronomy 30. Okay? But it says, Salakia, some of these dispersions have been voluntary, while others have been forced upon them. Voluntary movements were sometimes made by the Jews to escape the threat of destruction, as with those Judeans who moved to Egypt in the time of the prophet Jeremiah. Others left their homeland on various occasions with the expectation, I'd rather say, of pursuing an easier and more profitable way of life. So you had Jake that just, some of them just went about and went to other lands so they would prosper in life, And it says, as with the brothers of Joseph, some migrants were most probably traveling merchants who chose to settle in a new homeland for business reasons, whereas others found themselves on foreign territory in a military captivity, just as the Apostle Peter's letter, those different areas. In the NLT, it says in foreign lands.
Right.
All right. So when it says to those, and scattered greeting, you know what I'm saying? The strangers, that's going into Jake in foreign lands, bro. All right. According to your own scholars will tell you that. Now I'm going to jump down to a point here. And it says, the dispersed Jewish community in Mesopotamia flourished into the medieval Christian period, maintaining its distinctive religious practices. It was here that the Babylonian Talmud, which is wicked, but Jake wrote that wicked book, But anyway, it says a work which formed the basis for law and faith in the community was compiled. The dispersion was certainly supported by conditions in the Persian Empire and in the later Greek Empire, which you can't find what happened in the Greek Empire with the Bible that we have right now. You would have to read Maccabees. I almost said Maccabees, excuse me. You would have to read Maccabees, 1st and 2nd, in the Apocrypha, in order to understand what happened during the Greek culture, or, during the Greek captivity. All right, how we were assimilated into the Greek culture. All right, you can read books like 1st Maccabees, 2nd Maccabees, Sirach. That wisdom was given unto us in a time that we needed it the most, when we were in captivity under the Greeks. All right. So you have this time period that is essential within the Bible, but without understanding that, you're not going to understand, excuse me, the true meaning of diaspora and how it did influence the Bible and the Israelites. You know, you ain't going to understand that if you don't know what took place, especially during the Greek Empire, because that was a pivotal key of why we became Greeks, as you said it earlier, from Jew to the Greek, Jew first, then to the Greek. You know. So when you continue, it says, Salakia, the dispersion was certainly supported by conditions in the Persian Empire and in the later Greek Empire, as the character of the crowd at Pentecost illustrates in Acts 2, verses 9 and 11, what you quoted earlier, Mafia. So it says, interesting light has been shed on the 5th century BC Jewish colony in Egypt by the discovery of the Elephantine papyri. These documents disclose the existence of a Jewish trading community near Aswan that had its own temple worship, which is heathen territory, you know? And it said, when you continue, this community was also an important center from commerce in southern Egypt with the rise of the Greek Empire. Further Jewish settlements occurred in Egypt, along with a significant increase in the use of Greek language across the Near East. One result of this was the translation of the Hebrew scriptures into Greek at Alexandria, Egypt. All right, which is where you get the famous library in Alexandria that got torn down by, I believe it was Napoleon that tore it down. But when you go into history, you can read that history in the writings of Flavius Josephus. But I forgot exactly which Ptolemy it was that pretty much authorized the building of the Library of Alexandria. But one key pivotal piece that they required in there, was necessary, was the Septuagint, because these nations were so intrigued with how we ran business, conducted business, served our God. They were so intrigued in it that they needed parts of it among them. All right. So one of the key documents that was in the Library of Alexandria was the Septuagint, which is the Old Testament translated from Hebrew to the Greek. Okay. So it says, when you continue to read it, it says this version, called the Septuagint, became so popular that the New Testament writers quoted the Old Testament from it instead of using the traditional Hebrew text. So what that's saying there is it got so popular that reciting the Bible was more in Greek than Hebrew.
Right.
Just like in America. People, well, why aren't you reading it in Hebrew? Because you can't understand Hebrew.
Exactly.
It was the same concept in ancient Greece. You had more people reading the Old Testament in Greek versus the Hebrew because they couldn't understand the Hebrew. Which is why when you get the beginning of Sirach, and he's saying, look, I got to break this down to y'all in the best way that I can because y'all ain't going to understand the language, but still it's important to go back to the language. He tells you that it's written in Greek. He tells you that this is why it's written in Greek. You know, same time frame, you know. So again, it's safe to say that the Bible was more popular in Greek text versus Hebrew text in the time of the Acts of the Apostles. All right. It was read more in Greek text than Hebrew text. All right. But it's still a Hebrew Bible at the end of the day. Okay. So when you continue to read it, it says in 139 BC, Jews had migrated to Italy and settled in Rome, were being expelled from the capital city. Remember, the Apostle Paul wrote his letter to Rome, the book of Romans. The Apostle Peter addressed the church of Babylon. And when you research that Babylon, certain scholars will say that that's actually talking about Rome. You know, the church in Rome, you know.
But I know the Apostle Tar broke that down, saying like this is actually we're talking about like Jews that was actually in Babylon.
Okay. Come, the water for that. When you continue, it says they had gained a foothold in Italy, but by the beginning of the Christian period, colonies of Jews were scattered across the Near East and Southeastern Europe, although they were often disliked and sometimes persecuted. They managed to survive and prosper by the time of Philo Judaeus, which is 30 BC and to 45 AD. All right, it's just going into when he was born and when he died, this philosopher. Okay, so it says a Jewish philosopher of Alexandria, an estimated 1 million Jews lived in Alexandria. Now that's a lot of Jews right there. And you can only imagine after that how much they multiplied. Okay, an equal number had settled in both Persia and Asia Minor, and about 100,000 lived in Cyrenaica and Italy. The Jews who were dispersed throughout the world in this manner outnumbered the Jews who remained in the native land of Palestine. All right?
That's what we just read.
That's what we just read in Galatians, the 4th chapter. All right, I'll read that again really quick, just real quick. This is back in Galatians chapter 4, verse 27. For it is written, rejoice thou barren that bearest not. Break forth into cry and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate hath many more children than she which has an husband. So that's saying there's a lot more of the circumcision. There's a lot more of the uncircumcised that has to come in versus the circumcised. That's what that's saying, and that's what this said right here. There were way more Israelites that was in these foreign lands than those that actually inhabited the homeland. All right, and even I got you. And even when you go into the history, because it did make mention of Persia earlier. Now, when you go into the time period of the second temple being built, which that was led by Zerubbabel, son of Josedek, and then Joshua the high priest. Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Joshua the high priest, the son of Josedek. When you read that history and go into it, it was only about 40,000, around that range of Israelites that actually returned from being exiled and went back into the land to rebuild.
Right.
So that's a small number compared to the millions that actually stayed in Babylon, Shinar, and other regions. Yep. Okay? So what happened to those Israelites that still dwelt in Shinar? They still were Israelites that dwelt in Shinar. They just had babies, and they babies had babies, and so forth. All right, and that's one example within that one land. Because again, we were scattered abroad throughout that whole region. Okay? So it makes sense, and it's safe to assume and know that there were way more Israelites of the uncircumcised than actually circumcised.
Right.
And they had to come into the fold still. Because Yahushua came for them too. All right? Because elect were scattered among them. You got a point you're going to make.
Yeah, this is, I want to go into the commentary of David Gusick, going to the study of Nehemiah. And it goes into that. It says, I'm going to read it. It's going to D. When you read on down in the commentary, it says, but after 70 years of captivity in Babylon, they were given the opportunity to return to the homeland, the promised land. Out of some 2 to 3 million Jews deported from the land, only 50,000 decided to return to the promised land.
There you go, right there. Because it says it in Josephus too, but I couldn't find it with the water. Because that's where he got that from. David Gusick got that from the writings of Flavius Josephus. So it was a lot more that remained in heathen land and territory. Mm-hmm. And it's safe to assume, knowing Jake's history, they started following those gods. Not all of them, you know what I'm saying? But it's safe to assume that a lot of them followed the ways of the heathen. Right. Because Jake always did that. The water for bringing up that point. And it's a heavy point. Okay? Now this is going back to this. And it says, these colonies provided useful basis for evangelistic efforts, all right? Evangelistic efforts, which evangelism is the process of teaching on the highways and the hedges, which is where you get the Acts of the Apostles, the Apostle Paul and, Silas and those different individuals that went with him, as he went to those different areas in Asia Minor. All right, so it said that made it popular for those that actually preached the gospel to go to. Okay, so it said these colonies provided useful basis for evangelistic efforts by the Apostle Paul and later Christian preachers. Eventually, Christian communities were established in those cities that had a large Jewish population. Thus, the dispersion helped prepare the world for the reception and the growth of the gospel, which is why you see this lesson titled The Gospel in Diaspora, because there was a lot more Israelites that needed to hear the word that were uncircumcised versus those that were circumcised. And they were in these areas scattered. And then the falling away still had to happen after that. Or eventually we had to be sent even to the uttermost part of the earth, pertaining to Deuteronomy 30, which is America, Babylon, where we would eventually be fetched. Okay? Yep. Starting to make sense now?
Yep, because even at that time when the falling away happened, and we woken up again, through Abba Bivens, which is John the Baptist coming back, you even had a less number of Israelites that knew that they were Israelites versus those that didn't. Mm-hmm. It wasn't as if being here in America in the 60s and the 50s that you had more people that knew that they were Israelites versus those that didn't. So it even further solidifies that point too. Mm-hmm. But I have a precept here. This is Acts chapter 8. I'll start at verse 1. It says, and Saul was consenting unto his death, talking about Stephen. And at that time, there was a great persecution against the church, which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. Now, mind you, it was a persecution at the church, and they were scattered from Jerusalem into the regions of Judea and Samaria. Now, remember what Yahweh said. He said, "Go not to the way into the Samaritans, enter ye not," because it wasn't at that time. It wasn't time for that yet, right? Verse 2, it says, "And devout men carried Stephen to his burial and made great lamentations over him. As for Saul, he made havoc of the church, entering into every house, and hauling men and women committed them to prison. Therefore they that were scattered abroad went everywhere preaching the word."
There you go.
There it is, right?
There you go. Right, and what would that preaching the word do? It would bring you back to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai. That's the point of this gospel, to return us back to where we was before. You know, like you said earlier, I think it was one of y'all, as the Apostle Peter quoted, to stir up our pure minds. You know, and it took that to actually happen. We had to be preached to first in order for that foreknowledge to come back. Because it's always been there. That's the beautiful thing. That's why the Apostle James said, "Receive ye the engrafted word." Meaning that it's already engrafted in you, but it took something to activate it. It took place, and it's this gospel being preached to us that activated that foreknowledge that we already had. Okay?
Just because that preaching, you know, the Apostle Paul, if I just may say it real quick,
Mm-hmm.
the Apostle Paul is, before he was converted to Paul, rather say, when he was Saul, when he was persecuting the church, the Lord allowed that to happen, so that the word could be scattered into the different regions of the earth.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Of the known world, I would say at that time. You know, Samaria, you know, parts of Judea and Samaria. Because really, realistically, at that point before, it was mainly just in Jerusalem.
Right.
Because that's where the major persecution really began.
Right.
So those that were in Jerusalem scattered. And but the
Territory of that land.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then they used the Apostle Paul, or the Apostle Paul was used to preach the word to the Israelites that were scattered in the various different regions, Asia Minor, you know, Turkey, Rome, you know what I'm saying? All those different Israelites that didn't even know that they were Israelites at that time,
Right.
that was hearing the word, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Those Pauline epistles, you know, as the scholars will say it, the deacon destruction, the Pauline epistles.
Right.
Those Pauline epistles are crucial epistles that was needed for us to wake up, man. The Apostle Paul was the perfect vessel that the Lord could use to preach to those that didn't know any better. You know, that's why these letters are so important, bro. Without the Pauline epistles, we wouldn't have been brought back. Now, the Lord could have did it the way he wanted to do it, but he had the Apostle Paul and other like-minded men to go out there and preach to individuals like us. That way we would have this knowledge right now. You know, and it's very heavy when you look at it, bro. You got guys that discredit the Pauline epistles and say it's not of the Lord. Well, they won't word it as not of the Lord, but they'll say, well, it's not technically the word of God because it doesn't say, thus saith the Lord. So that just goes to show you that, how can I put this here? That goes to show you the mindset of a lot of these individuals and how these guys are really not even with the whole Israelites, foreigners waking up. You know, if that made sense how I worded it. A lot of these guys really ain't for that, which is why their doctrine is catered to still black culture. You know, it's catered toward feeding the flesh and not really promoting Yahweh Shai. You know, once you start to understand these epistles that the Apostle Paul wrote, it opens you up to even how you live. You know, how important it is to teach the way you teach. You know, because if you leave it to a lot of these guys, again, it's like very Western black culture way of teaching. And how are you going to be able to relate that? Or I'd rather say it like this. How is an Israelite scattered in Arabia or in another area going to be able to relate to the way you guys teach the Bible? You know, they're not going to be able to dig those gimmicks that you guys are on. Would you say, Toss?
It's like I was going to say, they're going to feel like they're casted away, like there's no return.
Exactly. Yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm still Egyptian. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, yeah, I'm for dang sure I know what these guys is on. Right. You know, the big old nose and everything. You know, them Egyptians got them big noses today. Them jakes that are scattered among them. You know? You listen, you leave it up to these guys, it wouldn't be no way that the foreigners and the Gentiles will wake up. The Israelite foreigners. You know? Kind of.
All right, John chapter 10, and I'll start at verse 14 in the NLT. It says, I am the good shepherd. I know my own sheep, and they know me.
Just precepts too.
Just as my Father knows me, and I know the Father, so I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep too that are not in this sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be, and now it's like it says, and there will be one flock with one shepherd.
And that Salakia, you got it.
No, go ahead.
And that actually did happen. All right, after Yahushua had ascended up back into his father, he went to those brothers in Americas. All right, if you can receive that. He came to those brothers in the Americas, and they call him Quetzalcoatl. All right, Quetzalcoatl. You know, the feathered flying serpent. And they depict him as a dark-skinned man with woolly hair, just as Yahushua is depicted. But Yahushua was talking about the northern kingdom that had to come back. And you can also find a precept to that in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. You got it, Benai.
Yeah, that's just bagging the point of, like you were saying, they were scattered too. You know what I'm saying? So this gospel had to be preached unto them.
Right.
See, at the end of the day, the sheep, they still sheep, man. You know what I'm saying? And that sheep is going into the Israelites, man. Jeremiah 50 tells you my people have been lost sheep.
Right.
You see, that's Israelites, man.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the other, he calls them goats, man. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Letting you know it's only for the Israelites. Those foreigners and everything like the brother is talking about is talking about Israel, man. Right. You know?
That's right. And just to clarify that Quetzalcoatl point, you know, because there is history, you know, and he was a deity, you know, that Jake erected in sacrifice to in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of Jakes that was here that chopped off heads and shed blood in the name of Quetzalcoatl, you know, but naturally, when he came over here, that was Yahushua. They turned it into something else, you know, just to put that out there too.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, Jake that was worshiping the brazen serpent. Yep. It was called Nehushtan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing.
Exactly, just like Jake worshipped the ephod at a point in time.
Yep.
You know, they turned what the Lord set up and they turned it into a tool of actual where they turned it into an idol pretty much.
Like the temple.
You know, like the temple, exactly.
The temple was like an idol in a sense. You know, Jake thought that the temple was there, you know, we good, we protected.
Yeah.
And the Lord made an example like, all right, well, you think you protected because you got the temple, I'm going to destroy it.
Yeah, and they were doing heathenistic rituals within the holy temple.
Yep.
You know?
And idols.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like with Quetzalcoatl. Okay? Now, naturally, we believe that to be Yahushua coming over here, but they turned that into something else. You know? But that's what that John 10 is going into. Yahushua is saying, I got another flock I got to visit. And it is being visited as well by this word. All right? So he's still visiting them right now through us. Okay? Con. Anybody got any precepts? Cool, we can end it off on that John 7.
Con. All right, this is the book of John, chapter 7, and verse 35. All right, and it reads, Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him?
Oh, I'll start a few verses prior to that, actually. Where Yahushua said, I go where I go, you can't come with me.
Okay, this is John 7 and 33. It says, Then said Yahushua unto them, Yet a little while, and I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me.
Which he spoke about his death and resurrection and ascension up to the Father. You got it.
Verse 34, Ye shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither ye cannot come. Verse 35.
And that just, when I think of that verse, I ain't gonna lie, you know, obviously I ain't gonna lie. Well, it just shows you that when Yahushua ascended up, people was looking for him, bro. You had, you know what I'm saying? When he died and was in the tomb and his body was gone, it was like, what the heck? Where'd he go? Did they take his body? You know what I'm saying? He only revealed himself a few times to chosen individuals then. Yeah. But the body was still gone out there, and the Romans and the wicked scribes and Pharisees was like, man, what the heck? So that goes to show you that they was trying to find him. You know? Because Yahushua said it. You know? Was he lying? Nah. He said, you're going to try to find me, but you ain't going to be able to. Yeah. You got it.
John 7 and 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go? He says that we shall not find him, Salaki. Where he go? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?
And the beautiful thing is, he did go to the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles, and he did that through us, because Yahushua is he's the temple. Yeah. We dwell within him. His spirit is within us. So as we're among the heathen preaching, he did that. You know, but the point is going into, will he go to the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? So is that saying he's going to go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and not teach to the dispersed among the Gentiles, but he's going to teach the Gentiles? No.
Dispersed.
Why would it say that?
Right.
No, it's meaning that he's going to go into the dispersed and teach these Israelites who are Gentiles. That's what it's saying right there, because we just went into the history to show that there were a lot more of them than those that actually inhabited the land. Okay?
Yeah, I asked if he can get that in the NIV real quick. That same verse that he just read.
Kinda, we can end it off on that.
All right, this is John chapter 7 and verse 35 in the NIV. It says, the Jews said to one another, where does this man intend to go that we cannot find him? Will he go where our people live scattered among the Greeks and teach the Greeks?
Come on now, man. Yeah, that's it.
Are people scattered
Among the Greeks. And why did it say the Greeks?
Exactly.
Why did it not say everybody else?
Yeah,
Right.
yep.
Right.
Because again, we went into that history. It got to the point where there was the Bible being taught in Greek more than Hebrew. Come on, bruh. You can't make this up. So going back and circling all the way back around after we extracted all this information from the Bible, yes, 1 Peter 1 is definitely talking about Israelites that were scattered in these different areas. And vocab, your boy John Calvin even believes that. Okay, so we can end it off on that. Hopefully this was edifying. We want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that do rule well. We did the proper introduction in the beginning, right? We gave a salutation. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. All right, and we want to say peace, blessings, and salutations as always. Greetings to you elect that are across the four winds of the earth, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.
Shalom.